web of lies. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Of the freedom of speech, somewhere I read. Of the freedom of press, somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
I cannot pledge allegiance to a country built on lies, or raise my children to believe they're equal in its eyes. My leaders are assassinated for speaking their mind. So justice never tilts my way. I thought that she was blind. Isn't this America? Or is this America all a lie?
Well, I don't know what will happen now.
All right, welcome back to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, in studio with my brothers from another. Dr. Bradley is in the house giving us a checkup from the neck up.
We all got the clean hands.
Here we go. And Pierre Rose, our Rhodes Scholar.
Rhodes Scholar.
is what it is.
You know, as a child, we used to, in the Haitian Creole, we call it Tet Kali Boubis.
What's the boat? Say that again?
Tet Kali. That they beat your head.
It sounds fancy. Yeah, it does.
Tet Kali Boubis.
Tet Kali.
Tet Kali Boubis.
Now, how come my Eddie Crispin didn't teach me that, man? I'm learning more from you than my brother Eddie. He didn't teach me that.
I don't know. Well, Eddie is not bald, so he probably...
he shaves it pretty well.
He shaves it down, but he's not bald. He don't have like this.
So you don't qualify?
No.
He's not a member.
No, he's not a Tet Kali.
That's all right, brother. That's all right. You know, but it's you can never mess it up, man. It's always done the right way.
You don't have to worry about that's 10 minutes in the morning. You don't have to worry about it.
It's a little raking over the head.
And since Dr. Bradley and his wife gave me that little shaver,
I like that, huh?
Oh, listen.
Does it burn? Do you burn at all? Do you sting?
No, I don't. I think it took a while for me to adjust to it because I've been using a razor, and so your hair follicles tend to grow a certain way. And now they've got to get used to the new cut. So you can't use both. You can do one or the other.
Yeah, that's right. You can't use one or the other.
Yeah.
And I it took a while for me as well. And then I noticed that I do my hair every other day.
Same. Yeah, I can't do it.
I can't do it every day.
No. It bumps up.
Because the difference between the straight razor and the little shaver thing is like you'll see after you're done shaving your hair, you'd be like, oh my God, there's these spots. I went over this and it's still
you
there.
Rub it like this, but it's good. Yeah. So we're gonna get back into that situation with the Boston Police Department and this exam, and really, I mean, the report card should be out on. I think Commissioner Cox has had plenty of time. Not to just talk about diversity, but to be about it. And we have to be unapologetic. We have to be like the Trump supporters about our issues and be willing to stand up for them, and regardless of who. And I'm not talking about advocating any violence or anything like that.
No.
But I'm talking about bringing this to light. Like, this is why I love you, brother, Dr. Bradley, is that these are things, like you said, it's close to you. We're aware of these things that are really taking place. For me, because I'm so recent past president of MAMLEO, and I spent so much time dealing with these issues and dealing with these people, is why it's so problematic and troubling for me to see a lot of them back in that space, because that set signal to me early on. And I would tell people, they were saying, well, just be patient. I said, okay, you're gonna believe me or your lying eyes. And that change is not people who leopards don't change their spots.
No. So. Well, and I'm really disappointed that that some of the same people that was the architect of destroying so many other people's careers are back in the fold, and that really
it should be troubling to all of us.
A shadow over fairness in the Boston Police Department. You have people like that running the show,
right? And they're only back for their own personal gains. But we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. I guess I should say is calling and talk about where we are. And it's ironic. It kind of falls in the same reparations here in the city of Boston. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you all very much. This is Edwin Sumter. I'm the co-director and communications director for the Boston People's Reparation Commission, and I can't thank you enough for giving me these moments to let some folks know what's going on with our commission. Yes. Sort of an overview of the pursuit of reparations in the city of Boston. And again, good morning to you all.
Good morning, Mr. Sumter.
Very interesting.
Well, we're hoping that you will pass that along and have people flooding the mayor, the commissioner, the city council's office, because I'm not saying, I guess it's somewhat of a form of reparation, but in this regard, is it just shows that we really aren't making much progress here, right? We're regressing. And if you look at it, if we don't pay attention, if we're not intentional in what we're doing, we're seeing the rights of certain people want to be taken away, women, people of color, we want to, that somehow trying to get us, and we're nowhere near parity, right, in this country is a bad thing. We weren't like Donald Trump, whose father, because of their wealth, their generational wealth, never had to work, his kids. So we see that being passed along, right? And we haven't had that's like I told people I equated to most recently with the Boston Marathon. If you start in Kenmore Square and I start in Hopkinton, I may finish the race, but I'm never going to win, right? And that's really what it has been. And when you talk about reparations, is that this didn't start out equally, and we're regressing back for women's rights back in some states like Arizona back into the 1800s. That is a mission for a lot of our rights in this country if we don't wake up. So give us an update if you can on where, because I know there's been a lot of talk, but I don't see that's just it. The talk is really a distraction. I told you it's that shiny object moment, right? It's so
funny you use that shiny object.
Because that's what it is.
Bring it up because I find that so ironic you say that, because I'm a firm believer in that too. For example, in the pursuit of reparation, we get a lot of curveballs thrown at you. Obviously, some people think it's just ludicrous. Forget it. It happened millions of years ago. What about this? What about that? You get thrown a lot of different distractions. And if you do chase one of those distractions down a rabbit hole, then suddenly you've taken focus and attention on what you really want to do, which is see reparations happen. So as you can imagine, we get a lot of things thrown at us, but it's impossible. It's not even advantageous to even pursue some of the things on the outside, because that takes away from the energy and keeping our eyes on the prize, which is seeing the reparations happen through the city of Boston for those greatly impacted by the transatlantic slave trade. But a little overview of what's going on.
Go ahead.
Well, just a quick little backstory. If you go back to even the 1980s, late 1970s, when Senator Bill Owens, the great late Senator Bill Owens, first brought reparations to the table, obviously he didn't get too far with it. Boston was a different Boston somewhat in terms of political abilities back there, especially around the African-American community, but he did put it on the table. It was picked up back in 2018 by community leaders, including the Reverend Kevin Peterson of the New Democracy Coalition, put it back into public notion. And just a couple of years ago, Mayor Wu and the Boston City Council did apologize for their role in the transatlantic slave trade. That led Mayor Wu to establish her own Boston Reparations Task Force, which is out there right now, and one of their charges, if not their big charge, is to research the feasibility of reparations for those affected by the transatlantic slave trade. They work with a research team out of Tufts University, and they're now doing some research, which they'll probably be reporting to the mayor at the end of this year or next year. That was the Boston Reparations Task Force. At the same time, there are communities, folks who want to make sure that not only is there some accountability around what they're doing, but how does the community itself stay engaged? There's certainly enough people, enough African-Americans in the city, there's enough room for other organizations to come together and form their own alliances and make sure that the community stays informed and engaged, because the bottom line is this: when this all comes to a head, the last thing we need to have happen is that our community, those who are actually why reparations is even being considered, we don't need our community not to be informed and engaged and educated as to what's going on. We don't want people up at the table making decisions that are going to impact our lives, and we're not there at the table, or we're not there at the table fully educated or educated to the best of our ability in terms of what's going on. So one way for that to happen is to make sure the community stays informed and engaged and educated. And when I say educated, that goes both ways. We at the Boston People's Reparation Commission, we don't know everything.
Yeah.
In fact, we have members who have brought things to us with outstanding ideas and notions and insights to help educate us.
Yeah.
Because who has all the answers to reparations right now? Nobody.
Right.
But by making sure that we have the door open for the community to participate means that education is working both ways, and more importantly, involved.
Well, let me just give you a little historical overview, because this has been historically the stall tactic that has been used. And when you're talking about what you're talking about, I equate it to the recent with the new police commissioner Cox, right, and where a lot of the leadership at MAMLEO engaged him in conversation, right. And that's the thing they do, is they talk you to death, right? And then when you look at what anything is being done, so I'm gonna use this. So I want Dr. Bradley to weigh in on this. He's a professor at several colleges, right? He starts at the beginning of his session with his students. He prepares them, right? And then at the end, as they've had enough time, ample time, right? And now he gives them an exam, right, to see if there's been any improvement on what he's been talking about and if they've gotten anything from it, right? So when I'm hearing you saying that you guys have had all this meeting, all this conversation, right, and we're no further ahead, right, and that is the intention on the other side, is to talk you to death until folks get tired who are real serious and they just walk away because they just can't be bothered with just having conversation because they're not enamored to be in their presence, right? But has there been any real production from this? Because I'm not one of those guys that you have a fancy title, and that's not arrogance, that I care about being around you. I choose my friends, right? My friends, the folk, my brothers here in the room, and others. I knew when this got started because we've had this historically, right? Remember the city when they came up with this after the George Floyd, and I even forget the name of the folks there that are supposed to be accountable for the oversight in law enforcement, right? I don't even know what, if anything, that they actually do, right? But and if what the staff is, I tell me, show me your budget, right? And I'll show you your commitment, right? So there are a lot of things I say that are supposed to impact us, and there may be one person with a fancy title, but nothing, because what senior person is my question to you on the mayor's staff that is engaged with these conversations?
Well, I can tell you that the head of the Boston Reparations Task Force, headed up by the city of Boston, is Joseph Feaster. Mm-hmm. He's their president. And we have attended their meetings. They've come to our meetings. Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned earlier, the process is now where they have the research for the feasibility and other information is being done out of by research team.
Let me just, because see, this is what I said, and let me say for full disclosure, Joe Feaster is my brother-in-law. Let me say full disclosure, we're not close, but I say it because his name pops up quite a bit, right? When it's issues related to us, and Joe Feaster is probably in his early 70s or whatever, right? And he's doing a lot of different things. Like we have one person that we're overtaxing, right? He was part of this other task force that I can't recall the name of with the mayor or the oversight with police, and then recently with this housing issue, I saw him appointed as the receiver, the overseer for that. So I'm saying is that we keep going to the well for one person, and he's more than capable. But I'm saying is that if we're asking the same person to take on all these tasks, I don't see how anyone, even Superman, can get them all completed. So that right there is a red flag for me that the same name keeps popping up.
But my red flag for me is, why did we keep going back to that well? Are there no other individuals that are talented or just as talented to get this done? And the reason
I would say this. I'm sorry, let me cut you off.
Sure, go on.
I would say this. Obviously, I nor anyone on the Boston People's Reparation Commission is in position to really say what Joe is capable of doing. I certainly have known Joe for many years myself, right. And the mayor did appoint him, and she did appoint that commission. So what was her that task force? So what was her charge of doing so, and the background to how she came to these decisions? Unfortunately, I wasn't in on that process. I understand what you're saying, and you're right.
Let me jump in here because but let me say this: that in itself should be a problem when the mayor is appointing someone rather than going to the folks and saying, "Who do you think would better serve this moving this forward?" Right? When so I don't take anything from we're just talking about the police commission. The mayor didn't ask our organization for these leadership. This is what I'm saying. We have to stop settling for who they think has our best interest.
No, believe me, I'm born and raised in the city. I'm in my early 60s. I've seen and paid attention to it all. I'm growing up on Calendar Street right in Dorchester. I've lived everywhere throughout the city. I've written for a couple of small community newspapers, worked at WYOD, so I got to see it and hear it and all. Mm-hmm. So I will say this. One thing that I think that people can do to buttress what you're saying, or at least have another voice in terms of what's going on, because let's face it, gentlemen, what we're talking about is city government, and whether it's city government or state government, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I understand we don't have to accept it. I'm sure we'd like to change it and some of the things that go on, but I'm not going to say that's another one of those shiny objects that can take away from what we're doing right now, but I will say this. What we've done at the Boston People's Reparation Commission is we know what you're saying. We've heard what you're saying, and we understand what you're saying. We hear this, and we hear other things. We hear things about ourselves. But the most important thing is we formed our commission. Mm-hmm. Our commission is consists entirely of residents of the city of Boston. Mm-hmm. We ask our members who have joined us, who live in the communities and neighborhoods that have been impacted by how they've lived in the city of Boston as African Americans. Mm-hmm. And we just ask them to stay with us with these monthly meetings. Come to these monthly meetings, become engaged. We're engaging folks through 4 different ways: special events, education, communications, and community engagement. Those are the 4 pillars of our commission. Right. We've asked folks to come to our meeting and join those, which they do. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten to the point now that we're I have to interrupt you because, and in all due respect, because I've been to not these meetings, but I've been to meetings and people meet just to meet, and I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying is this has been going on long. We know what the problem. We've identified the problem. I'm like I'm in the restaurant, right? I'm going to treat you like I'm in a restaurant. Check, please, because that's the only thing we should really be discussing. Because this is really comes down to we have an education system that is to me is a bigger reparation that we need to resolve, right? Mm-hmm. We have displacement here. Just recently reporting out that the average price for a home in the city of Boston has reached $900,000, right? So we're being moved out of the city. We're being displaced in an alarming numbers. And yet, with having a monthly, this should be an everyday conversation. So if we're having it once a month, so the mayor can say we're engaged in this conversation, because that's the tactic that they used to do with us. Oh, well, we meet with MAMLEO, we meet with them, right? But nothing gets resolved, nothing gets done. The only thing that we've gotten any traction, hold on, and I'll let you finish, is through litigation. Honestly, is the only thing they understand. Is a financial cost to it, and that's to the taxpayers, but at least someone is being held financially responsible for this, because right now, with the recent conversations about the shortfalls at the state level as well as at the city level, I don't see them ponying up anything financially. So a couple of things.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Litigation eventually at some point will have to be part of this process, but for many folks. Now, I mean, you and maybe I, and some others listening here on Boston Praise Radio this morning, we may be very familiar with the words reparations, and you just said that it's been around for some time. But I got to tell you, sir, for a lot of black folk in the city of Boston, reparations, even the conversations, is something new and something that's brought to the table. Mm-hmm. And those are the people who are mostly concerned about through the Boston People's Reparation Commission. Yeah. Those who have just maybe heard the words in the faintest voice, but don't understand what's going on with it, hasn't been informed what's happening. So we just want to make sure. Right. So what organizations? What other organizations do you have? Like the Lawyers for Civil Rights, is the NAACP, organizations such as are they part of this conversation? I've not heard too much from the NAACP around reparations. I haven't heard too much from the Urban League. Certainly. I haven't. There's also a reparations. The Lawyers for Civil Rights, because I tell you, Yvonne Espinoza, the executive director there, and his team, Sophia Hall, they have been phenomenal with us in our fight in this and getting equality. Those are people, like I said, if you really want to bring some serious contenders to this, those are people you should reach out to. This is the Lawyers for Civil Rights. And I do believe that at some point, all these different reparations forces that are out there, like there is a state bill. Headed by Liz Miranda for the statewide reparations. There's a few other organizations here in Boston that are also becoming part of the process, and I think all of us have to stay in charge. That is just to make sure people come aboard But you're absolutely right. Now, in terms of furthering here in the city of Boston, I mean, in terms of the mayor setting up.
Yeah, we got. I don't want to. No, I'm saying we've got some calls coming in. I want to get those as well. But
I just want to say,
go ahead.
That our meeting today is right down the road from where you guys are, 10 Dunbar Ave, the Unity Sports and Cultural Club. We're having our first meeting at that location after moving up from Libyan Square. And it's at 2 p.m. today, and we'd like folks, especially if you're in this area, this Carbon Square, this Dorchester Ave, this Ashmont area.
What is the agenda? What is the agenda for today's meeting?
The agenda for today's meeting is we're going to sort of initiate a grand opening at our new location. We're going to have president of the organization, Kevin Peterson, speak. Myself, I'll speak. Heather Cook, our co-director, will speak. We'll talk about what's been going on with the commission. We're also going to branch off into the 4 different groups that I talked about: education, community engagement, special events, and community engagement, special engagement, community events, and a fourth one, which I'm giving my mind right now. But they're breaking off into those 4 different groups. People can join one of those 4 groups and then stay in the groups, stay in link with what's happening with our commission by joining those groups, which you can meet on an outside basis as well. So that way, let's get people involved. You get a chance to join the group. We will keep you up on the different events we have coming up throughout the month. And again, our interest has been really great. I mean, obviously we've been in the media quite a bit lately, but what's most important to us is that we've gotten so big in size, we've had to move up to the Unity Sports and Cultural Club. And that says a lot about the community wanting to stay engaged in what's happening. And again, we're doing this because when it's time for decisions to be made by the city of Boston, when Mayor Wu gets her report, when things start happening, she says she wants the community to be part of this process. We just want to make sure that as much of the community as possible can be part of whatever's going to happen. The last thing we want to have happen is somebody give us something. If we don't want something given to us, we want what we need, what we demand. I mean, we're the ones who find ourselves in some of these areas around the city, like 22% of us live in poverty compared to 7%. Our dropout rate is twice as high. You mentioned education. That's something huge we're looking at. And the fact that we're being gentrified out of the community. For me, a couple of the big gaps that really upset me is the fact that
Mr. Thompson, I get it. So I think we have the gist of it. I want to bring our callers in so they can hear from, so you can hear from them as well. I don't want you. Good morning, Dick. Welcome to the roundtable.
No, I have a question.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Dick. Go. We're going to take Dick go first. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, no, I have a question for your guest. My question is, and again, I heard this reparations all my life. But the main question I have is, and hasn't been answered yet, is, are we going to see reparations in our lifetimes? Not a century, not 2 centuries, not 3 centuries, but the here and now. Are we going to see reparations? Because don't get me wrong, I'm an elected official, I'm a registered voter, but I don't trust anything what Mayor Wu is doing, huh? So are we going to finally see reparations in our lifetime in 2024?
Great question. And I'm going to give you an honest answer.
No.
If the mayor's task force isn't going to report to her until the end of the year, which goes into next year, if anything's going to happen, it clearly wouldn't be this year.
I guess,
in terms of whether it's going to happen in your lifetime and my lifetime, my brother, I'll say this. The door is open as wide as I've seen it open. At least the word reparations.
What does Mr. Sumter, what does that mean? Explain that down, because you're saying it's open. Put a little meat on the bone. Go ahead.
I'll be happy to explain. When I say the door is open as wide as I see the door, there's actually been some cities of the United States of America that have actually begun implementing some form of reparation.
And they started way past when we have. Now, there's been some results.
Boston, though.
Boston's door, if the door is open, be careful where your foot and your hand is, because it's going to get slammed on. I understand
that, but at the same time, let's look at the other side of what you're saying. Not that you're saying, but let's say this: if we're not there doing something instead of doing nothing, then there seems to be the right approach to take. The door, whether it's open wide or just showing a sliver of opening, we have to be there.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's what I know we're doing at the Boston People's Reparations.
I don't disagree with that.
But I understand that you're able to say we need to kick the door in or open the door up. I totally understand that too. I mean, we can take the James Brown effect on. Just don't just open the door. I'll handle the rest. We could do that as well. But we've got to get the community together. We've got to all be there when these changes or these things.
Again, so to that question, how has the community engagement been in this process? Because I don't hear anyone really talking about this other than a few people, and I applaud you guys. And this is not to put, but I mean it goes to show that we kind of are working in silos in a sense, in that we really need to be working in unison. Like we think that one's problem is not our problem until we find out we're a victim of it, right? We think that.
Being out there on the front lines, if you will, as much as someone can say, being out there on the front line for reparations with all these different organizations. I don't know. I've gotten to go to some of these, like I said, some of these meetings, and I know most of the people who are involved. And I do get a sense that while still I understand the whole talk about being in silos, but I've seen people cross over and extend hands and help to others. I've seen the community working together. I've seen people taking this issue together. I always like to say, we may have arrived in different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And I think, in the end, I think that everybody does want the same thing.
I hope that boat isn't the Titanic. Let's grab this other call. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the roundtable. Dick is standby. Welcome to the call. Welcome to the roundtable, caller. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Hello. Go ahead, caller. You have a question or a comment?
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is. You have a comment or a question?
Yes, I just wanted to ask about the existing racism, obvious racism in the trade unions, and the fact that we have almost $61 billion coming in construction. We're in the biggest construction boom that Boston has had. I think it's the third largest right now. And the opportunity for black people to be qualified to take these lucrative jobs that apprenticeships start at $60,000 to $80,000.
Right. No, so right. So I get it. Let me just sum that up for you. So I get it. So Mr. Sumter, she's raising a very valid point, right? Where if we this is why I don't take this conversation with the city, not what you're doing. I support what you're doing, but the city's part of this and why they're being disingenuous, because exactly what this caller is outlining. If you were talking about reparations, we don't need reparations to bridge that divide. The fact that there really hasn't been much of an effort, right? Less than 1% of the procurements for the city of Boston go to people of color, right? There are things that can be done. Right. There are things that can be done right now. The lack of education in our schools, reparations. There is a long laundry list of things that could be done while the conversations are taking place once a month that could move us forward, right? This is why I think it's disingenuous what the city is proposing to you guys, and bring me a report and give me another 6 months, and now we're heading into the election year next year, so I can pretend that I'm doing something to address this problem that we know already exists. Show me some tangible evidence that you've moved the needle in these issues that really don't need a reparation, just need common sense, that need a commitment to deal with. Am I overstating this, John? Help me out here.
No, you're not. I'm sitting here.
Hold on. Dr. Bradley,
I haven't spoken yet. I've just been listening to this, and I'm saying to myself as I listen to this young man speak, how are you informing me as a regular citizen who doesn't know anything at all about this, but you want my support? You're trying to inspire me. At what point are you informing me about, what is reparation? What, how does it benefit me? What type of reparation are we talking about? A lot of the people that you're talking to may not even know the word exists, exactly. And so I understand, I appreciate the movement, but I think a large part of this is educating our community on what we can do. That's one piece. That's my first hit. My second hit is that we're going to get with the city. We're going to ask the city to participate. I agree with you. The city has to show me something I can put my hands on, I can put my teeth in, that says that I'm serious about this, and we're going to move forward with you. There are other cities around the country. Let me say this. There's other cities around the country, San Francisco being one of them, all right, who have actually moved on this. Yeah. And people have actually benefited from this. And reparation does not just have to be cash. It could be a whole host of other things that our people were deprived of.
But this is what I'm saying. When the caller brought this up, when she's talking about this, and we're talking about things that you could see that right there that we should be doing, that would convince me that you're serious, that we're moving in the form of reparations, right? Is righting some of these wrongs, right?
Right.
We're doing little or nothing at all. That just shows me that you're not serious about it, other than putting these committees together to buy you time.
What we're doing, we're just articulating wastes time. Articulating costs time. And as people get older and new people come up, they don't even know what they don't know. You know what I mean? So therefore, I'm going right back all over. It's like the mice running in the wheel, running over. Let's stop articulating and let's start seeing some action.
Well, how many organizations I can go down, and I can't recall the names of the Black Men's one, the one that, with the oversight of the police, OPAC, right? So all of these things that were supposedly set up to have oversight and to move along and to correct some of the wrongs, I don't see any movement. I don't see anything other than a few people that might have a job. But as far as any changes,
nothing.
I don't see them at all. Our schools are a perfect example of that.
Not only do you not see operational changes, you don't even see cultural changes.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So all we're doing is just talking. We're just talking.
Right.
We need to do more than just talk.
So, Mr. Sumpter,
So
I want to
go ahead. I'd like to respond to some of that. First of all, I do want to say this. Everything you just said, including the timeline, which seems a little suspicious, but suddenly we're talking about leading into campaign season 2025.
Hello,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we're listening.
Sorry, okay. Yeah, I totally agree with much of what you just said. Yes, it does look a little suspicious that now suddenly we're talking about what was supposed to be due the summer of 2024 from the Reparations Task Force now has to go until the end of the year, which also, by the way, happens to be going to campaign season 2025 in case the mayor wants to run for re-election or something. And you're absolutely right. Why can't something be done while this process is going on? Gentlemen, those are questions that if you have an opportunity to speak to the Boston Task Force or Mayor Wu, some of her staff, they certainly can answer better than I can.
Honestly, see, here's my problem. Like I said, when the mayor appoints people to these task force without input, see, right there tells me all I need to know. When she's appointing people, just like the police commissioners, they're appointing and not sitting down with the people who are impacted the most, and not taking their opinions and their advice into consideration. That tells me all I need to know. This is just another example of what we outlined in our 7 o'clock hour of putting people in place that might look like us but don't have our best interests, right? And so we have to be honest with that and saying, no, we'll tell you who those people are, right? We're not going to embrace what you want us because that just buys you time. This is by design.
Believe me, when the task force, when this all started, these were the arguments, the questions, the concerns that folks had.
Then why are we going to meetings with the people at the mayor appoints and saying, instead of pushing back and saying, we'll have meetings when we feel like they're going to be something of any substance?
Well, unfortunately, again, a question that's well understood, but sir, the process is right now, has been moving along. They've had their meetings. We've had our meetings.
Right, but you're talking about meetings. I get that. I get that. But again, I've been to those meetings to be having meetings. I'm asking you what substance has come out of these meetings, right? Other than we schedule another one.
Let me speak about our meetings, because their meetings are their meetings. Our meetings, as I mentioned again, we're just asking residents of the city of Boston who, as the gentleman earlier mentioned, may not even know what the word reparations is. We'll do some historical.
No, sir, I get all that. I get all that, and I'm not because I really want to bring our callers back. I understand all of that, but my question is, who in the room from the mayor's office is able to not just talk but actually commit right on the dotted line and saying this is what the mayor is committed to doing, and here it is in writing that this is going to take place, not we'll get back to you.
And time frame.
Right. Time frame. I just want to say again, and let everyone out there know, this is the Boston People's Reparation Commission I'm talking about. We are not affiliated with the mayor's office. We are not the commission or the task force that she appointed. That's something separate. Their charge under the mayor is theirs. And hopefully you'll have, they have 9 members on that task force.
Are they from the school committee? Because this is I'm saying, again, another appointed hat
I'm
from
just saying your questions are extremely valid, but they would be better served to be asked by one of the 9 members who is supposed to be made up of people who are representative, and at least the mayor's description of the city of Boston. Those are the folks that you should have right there, and or on the air or in person, and ask them these very questions. What we can do at the Boston People's Reparations Commission is to hold them accountable, is to make comments, is to engage in conversation, let the community know what's going on. But again, I think I really want to stress what's so important for us is that we do our monthly meetings, that we keep this in the air.
Are these meetings available by Zoom? Because everyone, I know folks are doing it. Do you guys hybrid?
One thing that Zoom is great, but
I understand in person, but not everyone can be in person. So
that's right. Exactly. And right now, we stayed away from Zoom meetings because we really want people to come to these.
So why don't, just a recommendation? Why not record them and then maybe push them out on the social media? Because I think
our information on our meeting is there for people who want information. But in terms of doing it live, we'd like to hold the meetings live in person and have a gathering and have community come together. And so far, that's worked for us to our speed. To the point now we're moving to right down the road again today, 2 p.m., 10 Dunbar Ave, the Unity Sports and Cultural Club. And if you're in this area, what I'm talking about, and you'd like to hear more about what's going on, the preparations, what's going on with our commission, some part of our team, we certainly invite everybody to come down. Obviously, we have the
Is there a contact number or anything they can reach out to?
Absolutely. We are, if you take those 4 words, Boston People's Reparation Commission, and input it in any social media, you'll pull up all of our information. Or you can reach out to me directly, Edwin Sumter, EDWIN, SUMPTER, and you can reach me at eSumter2006 at Yahoo.
All right, Mr. Stumper, stand by because some comments on the. Stand by.
So this is actually just I saw this post by I think Kevin Peterson. It says, not sure why the city of Boston's reparations task force would distribute a reparations flyer to nearly 800,000 Bostonians, wherein the majority of the people protesting in this flyer are white and led by a white woman. And then the city's reparations task force cancels its planned meeting Tuesday. Something doesn't feel right.
Well, like I said, it's the
I will respond to that. They had a meeting last month that I didn't particularly go over too well with the community, and this month they canceled their meeting. As to why they're doing this and why they feel that they needed to cancel this month's meeting, all I saw was an email that they put out that it was canceled. They didn't go into why.
All you need to know.
They did mention that their next meeting is next month.
So Brother Rhodes has a comment for you.
All I'm going to say is that this government is supposed to be a representative government, and if you're supposed to represent the people, why isn't the mayor coming to the people and asking the people? As Larry eloquently stated, she could have come to MAMLEO. She could have come to the different organizations that actually had a stake in the game to actually find out what was going on to get their input. She didn't necessarily have to implement what they told her, but she never actually even bothered to actually find out from the different contingencies what they wanted. If you want to represent the people, find out what the people want and need, and then actually address those things.
She will come when it's time to vote.
But I think that's why he highlighted it, that this has been pushed back as a campaign kickoff for 2025. That look what we're doing. We're talking about we're talking. What have we done? What's in the discussion, right? So just stick with me until after the election, and then we'll put it back on the back burner again.
And you got a black police commissioner, right? Yeah. You look at what we've done so far.
And it wasn't talking about right that we're regressing under that administration. So, Dicko, any final questions from you before we let you go, sir?
Don't get me wrong. I hear all the arguments and points, but one thing that hasn't come up is positivity. What are we getting out of this? Are we learning anything from going to these monthly meetings? Because all I hear is meetings. Anybody can have a meeting. We're having a meeting right now. But are we being productive? Are we learning anything?
It's the definition of insanity here.
Yeah.
And also, my final question is, for all the 13 city councilors, are they on board with reparations, or is just the old saying, get along to get along? Because I don't hear none of them talking about, okay, we're going to do reparations for the people, because they represent us, not the other way around.
Right, but also, Dick, I'm asking you is so we can call the mayor's office 617-635-4500, and the police commissioner Michael Cox is 617-343-4500, and asking them why there's a big push. Again, talking about why there's a big push to kill this promotional exam when they have so many people of color right now that can be promoted. What is this rush to actually disenfranchise, expanding out? This is why I say when they talk about things, right, and then when it comes to actually delivering, it's just in total contradiction. It falls in line with it here that you guys are going to be experiencing the same disappointment, the same negativity, the same, like I said, well, we're not going to another meeting because people are actually going to be looking for answers, looking for accountability. We got to postpone that, and we'll talk about it during the election period that we're working on.
I disagree with that because I haven't seen that evidence. But again, I'm talking about my commission. In terms of what the mayor's task force.
No, that's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the mayor's. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So again, right. I can only talk. Obviously, not being part of that task force, I can only go by what I see.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, they did have a meeting in March with officials in that meeting, and then they canceled this month's meeting. Okay. I don't know why they canceled this month's meeting. Okay. I'm surprised as anyone that they would, because this is such an important issue to the community. And I understand those who say, is it really that important in this issue?
Thank you. Exactly.
I understand that. Right. Because believe me, I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
But the facts are the facts. So education is important, should be important to the community. But
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but believe me, I also line up the times and dates like you do.
Yeah.
Now suddenly this is going to bleed into 2025. Certainly, it's something that any mayor in any city could point to and say, hey, look what I'm doing, not what I've done, but look what I'm doing.
We're working on
my brother. I know the difference between the two.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I'm going to reiterate, and I know I might sound like a broken record here, I know that at the Boston People's Reparation Commission, what we need to do, and then some might say, don't worry about just in case doesn't mean anything, because it's probably not going to happen. Whatever. Right. I know this.
Well,
It is better that we attempt to get folks in the community involved, engaged, and educated.
I don't disagree with any of that.
Sit back and let something happen or not.
Right.
Because if it does happen, and we believe when it does happen, it's better that we have more of the community involved, engaged, and educated.
No, I don't disagree with that. They always say the fish rots from the head, right? But the other problem is that the mayor knows there are no consequences if she doesn't deliver on this.
Well, that's again, and I think that the transparency and the truth of what could or will or whatever happened is very important. I know that we're very honest with our folks, just as we're very honest with each other. This conversation we're having right now, I'm really glad that we're having this conversation because I hope that folks are really listening to all of these possibilities and where things stand. And you're absolutely right. The gentleman a little while ago, maybe it was you, who said, while we're waiting means that nothing is happening. Believe me, my brothers, that is so frustrating to me as well. But I know that at least with the Boston People's Reparation Commission, I can point to something that's happening, and that is we're still going forward, keeping people informed and engaged and educated. Now, that might not sound like more than just meetings, and it might sound like, we've been through that a million times. But the important thing is, though, is that we're doing something.
Right.
Because it's better we're doing something and something happens and we're ready. So we do nothing and something happens and we're lost.
So we're limited on time. Dick, thank you, sir, for that. I want to bring us on. No, stand by. Hello?
Young lady. Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Introduce yourself, please.
Yes.
It's Miss
Okay. Yeah, call.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, call it.
Yes, hello?
You wanted to follow up?
Yeah. Is the guest there?
He's still there.
I just can't. I'm here. How are you?
Yeah.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, I was
good to speak to you again.
Yes. Emailing all the time. Yes. I just wanted to ask: is the People's Academy right now can close the color wealth gap by getting apprentices that can start making money, $60,000 to $80,000 in the construction trades, and they also are able to move up very fast. So to me, that would be closing the color wealth gap immediately. So is the People's Academy, it's a program that's ready to go to get people into this wealthy type of jobs.
It's access to the middle class. I would say wealthy.
Is a part of reparations?
No, there is no real discussion because the people in the mayor's circle, her orbit, are not at the table, right? They're not the ones, these organizations, as Mr. Sumter is part of, they're very good, and I support them, just like I support the People's Academy. For full disclosure, I serve on the board in the People's Academy. The issue is that the people who are deciding, who control the purse, who make the decisions, the mayor, are not at the table dealing with us in a fair and equitable, and in my opinion, an honest way, right? Because they're not honest brokers. Because these are things, as we just highlighted, a lot of them are issues that don't need legislation, don't need the city council's approval, just needs a real commitment from the mayor's office, right?
Yes.
And in dealing with these issues, like the mayor ran on fixing a lot of the problems here in Boston, and a lot of those that impact us personally. Housing, education, jobs, they've gotten worse, right? This is so if you're not going to deal with the things that are dealing with our immediate issues, something for 2025, we may not survive. Look, yesterday they reported out the average home price for a house in Boston is $900,000. Come January, how many fewer people that look like us you think are going to be living in the city of Boston? Yeah. That number's only increasing every day.
And I'll tell you now, when we talk about statistics, which I'm a huge fan of statistics, but the statistics for our community, as for communities around the country, are harrowing in some respects. We talk a lot about the wealth gap achievement, the wealth gap in Boston, $8 the average worth of every black family compared to $250 every white family.
And it's gotten worse since that study.
I got to tell you, there's another gap that people need to worry about. You know that the life expectancy living in Beacon Hill is 93, but in Roxbury, just 5 miles down the road, it's 68, a 26-year life expectancy gap. Yeah. That is also a gap that's got to be very concerning. That ought to be at the forefront of everything. Just living. Just living 5 miles from Eggleston Square up to Beacon Hill, you're expected to live 26 years longer.
Dr. Bradley, please help us out here on the academia, because
on the academic side, brother, of this, what I'm sitting here and I'm frustrated with is that people don't know what they don't know on this issue. And one of the areas that I would start out, if I were actually doing a course in this, is I would start out with explaining how many different demographics of people or organizations have been given reparation in payment of what they had done, what the government has done to them, except black people. All right, so I would actually, and this is the way I think that this particular organization can be extremely helpful with actually educating our people on what reparation is and how reparation is carried, why it needs to be carried out in all institutions, not just government. Because if you think about it, this whole issue around the critical race theory is talking about institutions discriminating against people that look like us. They need to pay reparation as well. So how do you do that? How do you deal with the issue that Citibank is Citibank because of Haiti? Yes. You know what I mean? So how do you deal with those issues and educate people on the issues? Hold up. Because through education, you can get inspiration. That's all I have to say.
But here's to your point is why, like I said, in yesterday's Boston Globe, it says how Massachusetts spent nearly $1 billion sheltering homeless families and migrants, right? We know who that population is, right? It's people that look like us. And it's already a problem with you. So do you think that if they're complaining about spending this just to try to keep people in sheltering them and giving them the basic necessities, you think the same folks are going to tolerate them doing anything to move our agenda? It's like I said, it's the definition of insanity. Until we as a folks get together, like, look at the craziness in reason to equating with the Donald Trump supporters. We should be just as advocate together in saying we matter.
Let me just say this in the word of the great Joe Madison. I'm going to put this where the goats can get it.
Okay.
I'm going to put it where the goats can get it. If you do not do what we're asking you to do, don't come to the black community for political support.
Right.
We will not vote for you. Oh, by the way, we will vote, but we won't be for you. So until the politicians understand that it's going to cost them, that level of support,
not just financially, but elections.
They're not going to get it.
That's right.
Because see, what happened here is that we cut off our own nose despite our face, because we don't vote. Right. And when we don't vote, they don't care about what we're saying.
And to your point, and well taken, right, is that when you talk about the voting part of it, right? The other side has said, you know what? Even if you have an R beside your name, but if you're not advocating for what we want, we're coming after you. We're holding you accountable, even if you're in our party. And they have moved all those folks who are as radical as it is. They're only moving their agenda forward, right? And if you go against that, you will pay a price at the ballot box. I'm not talking about physically, but you will pay a price at the ballot box. We have to be just as advocate for what ails us. In coming with
again, but historically, because
I totally agree with that, what you're all saying. But as somebody just mentioned, there lies the double-edged sword. Because sure, there is power in the vote if you have numbers with the vote.
That's right.
But unfortunately,
we have numbers. We just don't participate.
That's a problem, is because historically we've been disenfranchised.
Unfortunately, our numbers, whether it's a mayoral race or a city council race, our numbers sometimes come in so low that while they make somewhat of a difference in the final tally of the vote.
This is where I got to disagree with that, sir. And caller, thank you for your call, because we only got a few minutes. Thank you, caller. Mr. Sumter, is that I've worked, up until this year at these polls, and I look at the number of people that are eligible to vote, and I look at the people that come out to vote. So it's not that we don't have the numbers; we just don't participate in a way that the numbers are meaningful. So I don't want people to understand that the numbers. If we voted in the and so look,
they don't teach civics anymore.
I know folks that used to drive. Do security for Mayor Menino.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I know.
Let me just finish this statement, because I think it's important. I know folks that were part of the Mayor Menino's security detail, and it was an officer of color. And he asked the mayor one time, because driving around, why don't you go to certain parts of the neighborhoods? And he told him point blank, they don't vote. They don't vote.
They don't vote. Sure.
So
I don't think that's okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying. So why do you think that? You go into West Roxbury, right? And I'm not saying these folks aren't deserving of the services. It's like night and day, right?
And that's the thing.
But you work the polls. I've worked the polls. I mean, you're absolutely right. The amount of people who could vote, who could register to vote, it's shocking sometimes compared to those who actually do go out and vote. But just as you said, the politicians know that as well.
Yeah. So, Mr. Sumter, that's not new. Right. So we've got 2 minutes, and I want to give you ample time to actually announce your in any closing remarks. So the location and the time of your event today.
Once again, and I just want to thank everybody, and I want to thank you, gentlemen, really for this very engaging conversation, because this is an important issue that does need to be emotional. It needs to be it needs to be thought out. It needs to be given very clear, and people need to hear both sides of the conversation. And I'm really thankful that we were able to have this back and forth. For those listening, we are now the Boston People's Recreation Commission. We're holding our 7th meeting in the community, but this is at our new location, the Unity Sports and Cultural Club, 10 Dunbar Street, in Dorchester, down the road from Boston.F, right down the road from Boston Praise Radio. So we're new to the area. You're in this Carbon Square area. We invite you to walk on over today at 2 p.m. Come on over, meet those of us on the commission. Refreshments will be served, and see what the meeting's like, hear about what's happening with reparations in the city of Boston, and the things that we want to do. We have an agenda set up. We're very strict on time. We'll have you in at 2. We'll have you out at 4. And we really want to have you come by and meet folks and meet some new friends as we go after this demand for reparations.
I just want to ask you one question before you leave. Any part of your agenda is helping people get registered and vote? Any part of that agenda is making sure people...
Great question. We definitely, as you know, Reverend Kevin Peterson is the founder director of this, and voter registration, voter engagement is a big piece of this. So moving forward, we are going to add different components that can impact the community beyond reparations.
We've got to go. Thank you, sir. We've got to go. And on a refreshment, I hope there's adult beverages. I'm going to need one after this broadcast. Thank you for listening to the Round Table with Family. We'll take a break.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back.
Look forward to seeing you today at 2. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, guys.
We're going to pick this up after the break.
Never get the chance to meet ya. No, I came up from the bottom, always rooting for the underdog. I wrote 300 songs in 1 year, Boogie will tell you I'm on it. I got unreleased songs for days, they don't want it. Eat any MC in the game, it ain't a challenge if your music reflects who you are, then you's a coward. I can see through the lies you ain't living what you spitting. If your money's so long, why your dog's in prison? Why your baby mom's stripping? Why your mom's still living in that same broken home that you used to sell piffin'? You ain't gotta lie to me to sell me a track. You ain't gotta rock fake jewels or walk around strap. I respect artists getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track can move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst, and the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer, 'cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard.
Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle
So if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, no, I came up from the bottom,